How are you?
I'm good. How are you doing?
I'm good too. So we got, everybody's like driving home now from work, and this is the best time to do it for me, and I know it was a good time for you, right?
Yep, worked perfectly.
Perfect. It's really funny because like I was having lunch with your mom like I think like a week
I
or
know. I had no idea that you all even connected or knew each other.
well, we met at a law seminar in Louisville, like I don't know, like 3 years ago or something, and we got to talking about powerlifting because your dad's like really big into
Yeah.
powerlifting and
hmm
training at U of L. And I know he's retired now, but like he helps so many people. And then she saw me on a docket, and then she just reached out, and we had lunch. And then she told me about you, and then I looked you up. I'm like, I know who that is. I think we'd met before, right?
Yeah, yeah. I think
Yeah.
probably at a competition somewhere.
hmm So she told me a little bit
Um,
about you,
hmm
but
Yeah,
I want
no, go ahead.
no, you go. So tell me like you've been into because of your dad. I would imagine you've been into like fitness and like
Um,
lifting, right?
yeah, no, my dad actually I got into lifting kind of on my own. My dad didn't really come into my fitness journey until after he retired from the university. So my dad actually was, for anybody who's gonna hop on here, the strength and conditioning coach for the University of Louisville for over 30 years. He came from Miami up
Wow.
to the University of Louisville. He worked with football and then worked with basketball with Rick Pitino for over 30 years, like I said. So when dad retired from the university, he became my trainer. So that's where I kind of ramped up my love of fitness, and that was about probably 5 years ago. Um, and that's kind of where I started my journey into competing. So, yeah, and then I literally had no idea that you guys even knew each other.
Right.
So,
But you a picture, I was like, I know someone you know, and you're like, who? And I sent you the picture of us. But yeah, that's super cool. So what's it like, like working out with your dad? Because I would imagine like, you don't want to let him down, but you also like he knows you better, and like it's not like a typical coach-client relationship, right?
yeah, no, it's so my dad in the weight room is so different than what players viewed him as. It's kind of like a Jekyll and Hyde thing. Like him in the weight room towards players, and then him in the weight room towards me.
hmm
It's like totally different. Because towards me, I'm still his little girl. So in the beginning, it was like I kind of had to push him to push me. And then, like, his players would kind of be like, isn't it like super scary, like super hard? And I'm like, it wasn't, but now it's like a total role reversal where it's like I have to tell him, hey, I need you to take it a step back because I need to breathe. But
Right.
it's been like a in the beginning it was I needed him to go harder, and now it's we finally found that balance, and
Right.
I can't even explain how I am just total 180 from the way I was like 3 years ago to the way I look now. It's amazing the amount of progress and growth that I've experienced over the past. I mean, we've been working together now for like 4 or 5 years.
That's really cool too, because like initially, like you said, he was probably too soft on you.
So
Then you
you're cutting out a little bit.
that was way too intense, right? And so now you found your right, you're like your middle, right?
Yeah, yeah, definitely.
But
Sorry,
it's
you're
got to
you're breaking up
do.
just a little bit on my.
Yeah, you're breaking up a little bit on mine, but this is social media. We'll just truck along. It might get
Okay.
better, hopefully. The best thing is to just like wait a full second in between. LA Fit Mark says, from a dad's perspective, I work out with my daughter. I'll give her advice, but I allow her to grow at her own pace. So that's good advice.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, like, how soon did you start to see changes, like in your physique with your training? Because it's diet, it's supplements, but training's a big part. So, like, did your body respond really quickly, or did it take like its sweet time?
Um, for me, so I also have a neurological condition. So I don't even know if my mom told you much about that, but
No.
my condition definitely plays a role in how I train. So, like, I no longer put a bar on the back of my neck. So, I can't squat with anything on my back at all. We had to completely switch up the way that I train for my condition. I can't put anything that'll mess with my cervical spine at all. So, and anything having, and as you know, a bikini competitor, um, like your glutes, you know, and that tie-in, I mean, that's huge. So my leg workouts had to completely change. Um, so our training had to completely alter, and we had to get super creative. And then we also trained through COVID. So um, our my body adapted pretty well through that, but it took time. So I mean, I didn't really see a major change, and we started probably 20 like late 2018, 20 into 2019. I didn't really see major changes until probably I would say 2020 into 2021. So I mean, it took time. Um, and again, that first year and a half, Dad really was a little fearful to push me to my limit. So, and I mean, I had like hormonal changes, and I also changed. So my dad's my trainer, but my boyfriend handles all my nutrition. So
Okay.
it's Dad doesn't really know much on the nutritional front because when he worked at the university, he didn't have to handle any of that. So it's definitely for me. It's a whole team. I definitely got very blessed. I have my dad handles that, and then my boyfriend handles the other side, and it's a family affair over here. So,
Definitely. And Dad, I believe worked with guys, right? Not any women, right?
no, my dad worked. He worked with everybody. He
Okay.
did. Um, he started with football, and then when he came up to Louisville, he started up here with football, and then football got a new strength coach. So he went over he did like general. He did women's volleyball, he did golf, he did a whole plethora of sports. And then when uh, I can't remember, he got asked to do only basketball and volleyball. And then when Rick Pitino came in, Pitino was like, I need only one strength coach, and I need him all to myself. So he got put only with basketball, and it was funny because Pitino gave him 1 year. I need you to prove it. Prove yourself to me in 1 year. And then, I mean, he must have done something right because he
Right.
was there till the end. So,
That's amazing. Yeah, Patino, that's a huge name in coaching. Huge. And so,
yeah,
it's sink or swim really for 1 year. It's not
yeah,
very long. Yeah, he
no,
must have known the park. So it's good that he has some background, a lot of background training women. But
yeah,
like you said, it's a family affair. And also like you said, the hormone levels. Um, because your body fat, unlike guys, if a woman's body fat is too low, that can have an effect on menstrual cycle. It can have an effect on metabolism. It can have an effect on even mood. You know what I mean? Just like so many different things. So it's so high stakes with women, and then also with your condition, having to train around squats, you could still get those tie-ins, but you just have to think outside the box. So what better person than your dad, you know?
Absolutely. And I swear, his creativity is through the roof. So my dad also, being who he is very ADD, and I
Mm.
think that, and well, an ADHD as well. I think that the most creative minds in our world are
Right.
ADHD. Um, so he we trained through COVID, and some of our best workouts were done in our backyard with
Well,
cement blocks. And what did we use? We used a lot of bands, a lot of cement blocks, a lot of, I remember using big jugs of kitty litter. Um, we used like plywood. And we did not miss a beat. Every day it was me, my sister, um, my boyfriend, her boyfriend. We were over there every day. We didn't miss a day. Um,
right.
and then finally, so he works obviously at a gym. When nobody was there, we would go over there, unlock the doors. It was just us, and we would get a lift in.
Yeah.
It was literally a family affair, and we would make it work. And it was the most creative stuff. And Dad would program it every day, and it would probably be the only thing we would do that day. But it got his mind. He's 60. God, he doesn't look his age, so
Right.
honestly, I don't think anybody really knows his age. But he's probably 68.
Right.
Um, but he looks like he's 40, maybe. Um, and
That's
I
awesome.
think that's just a testament to what exercise does for you in general. Um, and
Definitely.
I'm preaching to the choir and probably everybody on here.
For
Um,
sure. No, and I think too, like the fact that you were even able to get into a gym in 2020 is huge. It's such a treat.
yeah,
Yes, people were using, like you said, bands, blocks, kitty litter. Everything, and it had to be a really tough time because, LAC was, all the LACs were closed. The factory was
yeah,
closed. All the plants were closed.
yeah.
Every day, everything was closed. So, and you know how, like, I feel like if we try to tell this to young people, like down the
Mm-hmm.
road, they're not going to believe us. But when the gyms were closed, I didn't think they were ever going to open again. I never thought life would be normal ever, and it
Yeah.
was. You know.
Well, and I don't know. I feel like that was such a huge testament to our world in general. Like when that speaks to our, well, and I don't even know where I'm going with this, but
No, you're all on the same page.
yeah, just the fact that our gyms were closed, and this is what people. I just I don't even know where I'm going right now.
Everybody, yeah, everybody freaked out, and nothing like that had ever happened before. There was no paper towels, people were fighting over toilet paper. What's up, Kim? And you're right, Mark. Yeah, super depressing. It was just never happened before. Not at least not here. And the worst thing is there was no answers. But I think it was like, I think what you and your dad do is great, father-daughter bonding, but especially then because so many competitors, they just gave up and never came back because,
Yeah,
like I said, it's never happened before. The gyms are closed and shows are canceled because
yeah.
they would postpone them, but ultimately they would just cancel them, and that was it. So it was a tough time. And then the Masters Nationals, they were done in tents outside, which was
Oh
insane.
yeah. I forgot about that. And what's funny is I actually forgot that when the pandemic hit, I was actually 7 days out from my show.
Mm.
And it's funny that I completely forgot about that because I do remember that that completely broke me. But then I came back, and my last show was this, not this past June, but the June before in 2021. And I probably came in the most conditioned and amazing that I'd ever looked. Um, but it's funny because I feel like the pandemic was a lifetime ago.
Right. That's probably why you forgot. I mean,
Yeah.
and that's you did because to a lot of people, I mean, to be 7 days away from the stage, whether they postpone the show, because they're both bad, whether they postpone or cancel. If they cancel, it stinks because it's not going to happen. But if they postpone it, you're like, you can't press pause and then, wait two
Yeah.
months and then play. It doesn't work like that. So it's just, yeah.
It's just
If you,
absolutely. Yeah, I know. I saw that. I love
yeah,
that
that's a
comment.
nice comment. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think so. Yeah, like Mark says, if you know how much it means to your dad spending time, you guys spending time, and I think that's great. I think it really is. But it sounds like it's also like serious work as well, right? I mean, it like
Yeah.
there's
A
yeah.
100%. Well, and so I just got back from a conference. Me, like I said, me and my boyfriend, we run our company, our fitness company together. We both train, and we also run a nonprofit for Parkinson's. So we run fitness classes for people with Parkinson's, um, and part of a huge part of my condition and also people with Parkinson's is just staying active. Part of if you don't move and you have a neurological condition, your condition's going to take over. You're going to, obviously, people in general, if you don't move, if you're not active, depression's going to set in. You're going to get rigid. I mean, these are all general things that you're going to experience. But when you have a neurological condition or anything that's going to make your body more rigid, it's gonna be worse if you're not active. But my whole point in saying this is when at the end of this convention there was a triathlete Ironman gentleman that gave a speech, and it was just phenomenal, the inspiration that he gave off, and he really has inspired me to do my next show. So
Nice.
this week, me and my dad have just gone so hard in the gym, and I know that it's not only re-energized me, but it's re-energized him, and I can just see it in his face because our lifts and our workouts have just been like total 180 from what they were last week. And it's been a whole other level from just what they were a week ago, and that alone has been an awesome feeling. So
That's
yeah, I
amazing.
totally resonate with what you said, Mark.
Yeah, that's amazing. Thank you, Mark. Yeah, and again, I mean, and this will definitely inspire other people as well. I mean, that's really what it's all about is and people, getting inspiration and just keep on going. And like you said, I mean, what you said applies, I think, to everybody across the boards, but especially I would imagine, like you said, with a neurological disease, but as activity is so important, exercise is important, and it not only for your like physical well-being, but also for depression, because depression is just it is. I almost feel like it's a disease in its own. You know what I mean? And so I feel like exercise, you get the endorphins out, you see people, you feel good, you accomplish something. I
Yeah,
think all things are positives. So
yeah, 100%. I mean the serotonin release and
mm,
the endorphins, just in general, that we feel from just exercising, whether it's going on a walk or doing cardio or just the most minute thing that you can do is, I mean, whether it's a major lift that you're doing in the gym or just the most small thing, it's huge. And I love that I get to experience that with my dad. I mean, I might not be a D1 athlete like he's used to, but
right.
I mean, it's still an amazing experience.
Well, you're his first bikini competitor probably, or first physique-based athlete, and that's like a whole different can of worms. I mean that's very very demanding in its own way, and like in football or basketball, you get to excel for a game, whether it's an hour, 3 hours, whatever. In bikini, you get 10 seconds. So like
Yeah.
the stick a lot higher, I
Yeah.
think.
No, I mean, it's definitely it's a whole other level of competition. That's for
Yeah,
sure. And I
for
know
sure.
he loves getting to my last show I did in Orlando. My next show I'm gonna do, I'd like to do one in Vegas. Um, I love getting to travel and compete, so I
Right.
know he loves to go and actually physically be there and watch me on stage. So that's
For
something.
sure.
When he was working for the university, that was something that we never ever. I mean, he
Mm.
would have gotten to go and be a part of me and his life. So
Right. So
something.
I know that you love your dad, and I know that you love your boyfriend, but which one's more difficult for you, the diet part or the training part? Like, which one do you like enjoy more?
The training, absolutely.
Nice.
I don't have a problem with the diet.
Oh,
It's,
that's good.
I know a lot of people, for me, I love food. I love food. Um, I don't, it's the transitioning over to the, the strict timing of the meals. For me, I get too lean. Um, I like the LOL. Um,
Yeah.
I get too lean is my
Yeah.
issue. Which I know people probably roll their eyes at that.
Well,
Um,
yeah, I mean, because yeah, I mean that's like I mean nobody, a lot of people wish they had that
yeah,
problem.
yeah.
So
Well, and I didn't used to have that problem, but I got into the cycle of doing too much cardio, and then I kind of tricked my metabolism. Um, so my issue was that I didn't gain enough muscle, and then my issue was that I couldn't put on enough in my off season. Um, and then, but I feel like I've finally gotten to a point where I have gained enough muscle, and that I'll be okay going into this next prep. Um, so I just, that was my issue. My last prep is that I got to doing too much cardio. So thankfully, I had the issue of, okay, I can stop and I can focus on just the diet and take it back a notch and only do so much training, and I'll be all right. I can just cruise into my show.
that's
Uh,
yeah,
and yeah, that's the ideal scenario. Uh,
exactly, 100%. Because a lot of people, they will sort of like they'll I don't want to say that they half-ass it, but they kind of half-ass it a little bit. And then like the week that they call peak week, they absolutely go to hell and back. You know what I mean? And then the final 48 hours, and they're just like in absolute agony, almost like painful agony. Whereas your approach is so much better. You just tighten it up little by little, and then you kind of coast in. Because the last thing you want is like just torment yourself for a week. You won't sleep. Everything will be off. I don't see the point. Some people like they get all excited about peak week, but it's like, why put your body through a ringer like that?
yeah, well, and then you come out of it,
Mhm.
and then you basically like hit a wall
Right.
after, so, and then you're a mess
Right.
after. So, I mean, I've only well, I say that, but I've done 4 shows, and my my third show was a hot mess, and
Wow.
I did back to back shows,
Oh, okay.
and I did not I just it was a mess. My metabolism was a wreck, and I take full responsibility. It was not my coach's fault. It was 100% my fault. Um, and if I could go back and just losing what, I mean, I would say yes. Um,
So
but
he's losing water affects your condition. Yeah, yeah, I would think so. Yeah, because but
well,
then all
wait, are you
sodium
talking
levels.
about
Uh,
my neurological condition, or are
well,
you
maybe that means yeah, because Mark competes, so Mark's probably asking about the condition. Yeah,
yeah,
because he can.
Yeah. So, if you're talking about losing water affecting my neurological condition, it does 100%. Um, yeah. So,
Yeah.
yeah, absolutely. Um, Being dehydrated is huge for my neurological condition. Um, Obviously, because it's neurological. So when my brain's dehydrated, my tremors, so I have tremor,
Oh, I didn't know.
is ramped up. Um, and competing in general, actually, when I am in prep, my tremor honestly goes away. It, and I don't know if that's more mental because I'm so dialed in, or if that's more just I'm eating clean, I'm 100% hydrated. Um, I don't know why that is.
And
Um,
and and even doctors may not know honestly, because it's just there's
yeah,
not that many that even know anything about competing to begin with, so they're probably as clueless as we are.
yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
Um, and but I know that when I'm in prep, I by far feel the best around, like all around. I know 100%. I feel better physically and mentally when I am in prep. Um,
Interesting.
and that is, I think that's why I always crave it, and I'm sure that's got a mental component to it.
Yeah.
But this is the longest I've gone since I started bodybuilding, and that was my first show was in the fall of 2019. This is the longest I've gone without prepping or competing. And that's been my last show is in June of 2021. So
But you've made
it's
some incredible gains though, so that's good.
yes. So and I've never not um I've never stopped training, but I've never gone this long without being in like with a goal in mind, with
Right.
a show in mind.
So
Uh,
you do have a show, and like you are getting ready for one or not yet?
I so the thought of wanting to start a prep just came into
Right.
my life
Patient, yeah.
um on Sunday.
Hmm.
So I'm definitely I'm definitely going to pick a show probably either this week or next week.
Very cool.
I'm probably gonna pick one by the end of this week.
Maybe by the
Just
end of the day, yeah.
yeah,
But
honest, I'm probably gonna go online here after we're done.
yeah, for sure. Well, I'd like to do another one of these, and maybe like once you have a show picked out, we can. I don't know if you're in Louisville or not, but I would
Yeah,
think, yeah. So maybe we can do one of these actually in in person. Maybe with your dad as well. Maybe at a gym, maybe
yeah,
at well, not a coffee shop. It's too noisy, but at the gym or somewhere. But that would be really cool because I know that you want your dad on one of these, and I'd love to talk to your dad. And your mom told me a lot about your dad when I first met your mom. So
yeah,
and such a brilliant career at U of L as well. It's probably a lot to talk about.
yeah, yeah. No, he's a character too, so he would be an awesome one to get on here, and I would love it.
Yeah, I would too. I mean, he's a strength coach, and my site is StrengthAddicts, so it sounds like perfect.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
That happened.
Well, I really appreciate you taking the time, Erica, and hopefully we'll definitely talk soon. I have a feeling you're gonna have a show picked out by 8 o'clock, but we'll definitely talk soon, and we'll do this again. Okay.
All right, all right.
Awesome.
Thank you.
All right. So, and how do you say your last name?
It's Ganong.
Sounds kind of close to not really, but it sounded kind of
Yeah,
close. All right. So for Erika Ganon, this is Christian,
yes.
StrengthAddicts.com. Thank you. And Mark, thank you for all the great comments and everybody that came by. Thanks.